All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are off and running in the 250 Consolation race here from Glen Helen, round 2 of the Ride365.com Pro Nationals, powered by VersusPC.com. My name is Kellen Brauer, and kicking off the festivities here tonight is, of course, the 250 Consolation race. For those of you that are new and just joining us here on SYS TV for the first time watching some Pro Nationals, Consolation race is the riders that qualified 37th or worse outside of the Fast 36 riders, and we'll have to try to qualify via this short little 4-lap race into the main program coming up here in just a moment. And the top 4 will go on through to be the 40-man field, which will go 2 motos, 30 minutes plus 2 laps, where all the points are on the line for that one. So up front in this consi, we have got Caden Speck from the one and only Jeremy Hinters trying to make it into his first pro motocross race of the year, Lysander Bigwood and Jack Knight. So we're off and running here at Glen Helen. And everybody hanging out in chat already. Good to see. Good night of racing on hand for us. Obviously, we will break down the 250 championship outlook once we get the motos set to go here in just a little bit. Right now, these guys just getting a feel for the track, hoping that they can race their way into the show tonight. Sure, some of these guys might be clenching just a little bit, hoping to make it through. Others might expect to make it through and are just kind of coasting this one. But it is our very own and lovable Jeremy Hinters up front here in the 250 Consolation race. Missed out in the Consolation race last week, did not make it through. Oh, behind him, Bigwood has a slide out, and he is going to get all sorts of cross-threaded and lose 3 spots in the process. So David Wright, battling with James Schuler, goes into the final transfer spot, and he's actually going to get around the outside of Schuler and Jack Knight. So Knight makes a mistake, might lose 2 spots as Schuler looks for an outside move. And this is our first look at this Glen Helen Raceway track, which has got a new section in it this year. It's a nice little wall jump into some sand rollers heading back up to the inside of the Talladega corner. And I'm joined now by the one and only Chris Riesenberg jumping into the booth as we're getting 250 Consolation race action underway here at Glen Helen.
Hello, hello. They're thundering down the start straight. Is that correct? I'm loading in.
Yes, they are. The second lap is currently out there, and these guys are working their way down the hill prior to Mount St. Helens with Jeremy Hinters leading the way. It is going to have some pressure here real quick as James Schuler and David Wright are both charging forward and are looking to go after the race leader here. Of course, the top 4 transfer no matter what, and they're all going to end up with some pretty horrendous gate picks, so it doesn't matter too much winning versus just qualifying out of this one, but I'm sure these guys would like a little bit of a safety buffer running second and third here and giving them all sorts of pressure. David Wright on the back of Schuler makes a mistake, and now Lysander Bigwood looking for an inside move.
Bigwood's one of those AM riders trying to qualify here in Pro as well.
Yeah, we'll see a plethora of amateur riders throughout the year end up in these Consolation races, as I assume. We'll see some guys move up from the Amateur Nationals as well. Towards the end of the season, we saw, of course, Sean Klein, who we talked about last week at Hangtown. He moved up at the end of the Amateur Nationals and put in a 10-10 performance at Hangtown last week, so the rookie,
Jack Knight putting that pressure on right now. Bigwood under some serious heat from his teammate, actually, Jack Knight.
Oh.
And Knight with a little mistake, but it's going to save it. No one's really safe right now in this top 4 group. Hinters just looking to make it into the show, as I believe he missed it last week out of the consi. Didn't even really come close.
Right. So Bigwood is on the bubble. 2 guys the closest to him, as you mentioned, Jack Knight, but also
Oh, we got to ride her down.
298 of Hedge,
That's
and
Hinters.
that is Hinters down. Hinters loses a transfer spot. He's back to the 5 spot now. Gets up right in front of
them.
them.
1 to 5th. Like I said, no one in the top 4 was safe. Now Hinters is going to have to go to work. Hopefully use his experience that got him that number 14 And, I mean, he's been a top 5 guy for years upon years, and now just struggling to make the show. Missed it at round 1. That's a pretty big story here coming into round 2, I think, is him struggling to make the main. As our leader has gone down, it was David Wright, actually, just getting back going. But he is not going to give up a transfer spot. He's going to get running in the number 2 ride.
No, not just yet, but he has got some heavy pressure from those teammates that you mentioned as Jack Knight and Lysander Bigwood hooking up here.
Is running those guys down and does have a faster lap time. Obviously a really short race to look at the lap times in, but he is putting the pressure on and try to use his experience, but makes a mistake.
That is a terrible spot to get stuck. Look at him
serious time. Dale Mullins goes on by to give chase to Jack Knight, Lysander Bigwood, David Wright, and James Schuler trying to take off with the lead and the win here on the Team Volcom machine, trying to get into the final.
Dale Mullins, another guy that actually made it into the racing last week and is outside looking in, so he wants to move forward as well. And we're about a lap and a half away from finding out who the final 4 riders will be going into tonight's
Mullins
motos.
Goes down. Hinders is going to get by, and he's going to be back on the outside looking in. These guys, though, they have 6.5, almost 7 seconds to make up on Jack Knight, who holds that final transfer.
Yeah, look.
No one's safe, and a lot of pressure on those top 4 right now. Really nothing to lose if you're in 5th, and Schuler's internet has gone kapooey as he was Magic Manned out for a while, and there he goes again.
All right, so your race leader is experiencing some connection issues. Hopefully that doesn't hinder him too much, but you're absolutely right that anything could happen as we've got a change for position. Bigwood off the track, and Jack Knight slides through. So now these guys still hooked up. They just want to make it through. Teammates, of course, we mentioned. Not trying to get too fancy with each other.
That white flag is flying right now. So 1 to go. Top 4 going to make the show. Everyone else going to be going home. Well, yes, they are home, but they're not going to be playing.
Oh, man. Well, these two have been hooked up this whole race. Obviously, probably ride together in some sense in this game when they can, being teammates. So they know each other's speed a little bit, and looks like they're just using each other to kind of train forward, although Bigwood off the track again. That's the second time he's done that in about a half a lap span, and he missed a timing gate there, missed a couple timing gates perhaps.
Absolutely, because I'm looking back at the interval back to Hinders. It's down to 3.8. He's putting some serious damage there, but it was showing zeros, which means that somebody did definitely miss a timing gate, and it was not able to update the timing for a bit. So
yeah, so cuts could come into play here, and that might be on Hinner's mind as he tries to track these guys down. Oh, and we've got David Wright down at the top of the short shoot hill. He's just going to get going as Hinners comes into the background. Oh, and David Wright swapping down the hill.
Oh, Hinners is down.
Oh, Hinners down on the bottom of the short shoot hill, just charging a bit too hard. So now David Wright could loosen up the sphincter a little bit, stop clenching.
Mount St. Helens has been difficult for Mr. Hinners in this race, and might be the difference between him going to the show and not. He's been almost flawless on the rest of the track, showing good times, but that Mount St. Helens crash last lap and a crash this lap, causing him to be on the outside looking in. David Wright's just got to bring this thing home at this point with an 11-second gap back to Hinners.
All right, so up front, it's been smooth sailing despite some connectivity issues for James Schuler, and it looks like he's going to fairly easily take this win here. He has got a good gap going over Jack Knight now, who's been in and out of the top 4, but is securely in second now, and his teammate Bigwood also looks to be in. He's got David Wright still right there.
Wright. They need to be careful not to get into too much of a battle here, as they're both safe in a transfer. Bigwood going to give up the spot.
Fortunate there wasn't any contact of any sort there. Hinner's still charging, but he's going to fall short here. These guys just need to make it through a couple more corners as Schuler takes that consolation race win. Jack Knight will also be going through. David Wright has made it to the line, and Bigwood makes it the 40th rider on the gate tonight. Hinners misses out by 1 spot. Second week in a row. Jeremy Hinners not going into the main motos of the evening.
Another double-digit rider, Ethan Parks. Triptez on the Vital MX Honda setup, not going to be running into the main event.
Wow.
Dale Mullins, Reno Brennan, Aaron Bonneau, who we saw some great rides from this Supercross season. Nicholas Crush, Dominic Saulnier, an OG of the community. Brandon Hedge, Caden Speck, Sonny Edmondson, Harry White, Tom Sook, Ben Lake, all will not be making the show here at Glen Helen. Our 40-rider field is set.
Man, and somewhere Moto Agogo's heart just broke into pieces with Ethan Parks missing out.
Somewhere, actually, right from our chat room.
Yep, right in the chat room, Moto Agogo. You can see the heart split right down the middle there. Unfortunate for Moto Agogo's buddy there, Triptez, not making it through either. But we both have something to be a little sad about, as neither of our guys went through tonight, Moto. We're going to be all right, though. So we're heading into the 250 motos coming up here. In just a moment, we'll have a parade lap and then get that first moto underway. Well, last week at Hangtown, it was the defending champion, Jared Seidhoff, taking the victory out of that one. Very consistent and smooth ride for the defending champion. What are we going to be looking for this week, Chris?
What was the question?
Well, what in this 250 class are we going to be looking for? Obviously, we're going to have the versus PC one to watch as well, so you want to break that down, but what are we looking for? Who's going to win this week?
Oh man, I'm going to have to look at qualifying to at least have a good idea. I'm sorry, I'm super late and not prepared. By the way, we won't have any warm-up laps, so we're going to go right on the gate drop into the start here at Glen Helen.
Fingers crossed I don't time out.
So I'm pulling up qualifying right now, which will give me a better idea of what we have. I'm hoping to see a Colton Mitchell bounce back, as he did not have a great week last week. Never really got a start, never saw the front. But I'm thinking it's going to be Mitchell, Whelan, and Kyle Robb out front. Those are my three guys that I think we're really going to see duking it out.
That's a hot take right there. Not even calling Seidhoff to be in that mix, your defending champion. And not even calling last year's race winner at this event, Dade Honeywell, who's fantastic at Glen Helen, to be in that mix as well. Honeywell also had a very decent opening round, finishing inside of the top 5 in the first moto. And pushing Seidhoff at one point, actually led a fair portion of that first moto. So we'll see what happens here coming up in just a moment, as your Consi winner, James Schuler, is taking us for a beautiful little lap around this track this week here at Glen Helen. Another fantastic track ripped out by the Race Tractor Gaming track crew that was met to much appraisal so far, and I'd have to agree, a very solid track that we're going to see some great racing action on here tonight. And in just a moment, we'll get that 250 Moto number 1 underway here from Glen Helen. Let's give it up to the chat, though. Who's ready for some action here at Glen Helen? See all these 250 riders drop a gate and go hauling into Talladega. And a unique first turn this week. How many people do you think, Chris, are not going to let off until they get to the very top of that uphill from the start?
I'm distracted a little bit. I believe that he's going to try to give them a warm-up lap, but okay. I'm waiting to see for sure in chat, and I'm trying to help Logan out here a little bit. So my apologies, just making sure. Okay, it is warm-up lap. He did broadcast. All
right, warm-up lap coming up here in just a moment. Checking chat real quick, and someone saying thanks for saying hey at USD. Well, you're welcome. I'm not too sure who you are, but
by the way, you said hot take when you mentioned the guys that I didn't mention. Maybe it was a cold take. Maybe it wasn't a hot take. But if I'm right, then it was a hot take.
All right. Well, we'll see how that plays out tonight. And well, Chris, I mean, if we're gonna have a warm-up lap, do you want to maybe take us through our versus PC one to watch for this first moto?
Absolutely. Let me load these boys into the gate here, and I will take a look at the field, and we'll call somebody out, somebody special.
Somebody special.
I have a pretty good idea who that one to watch is going to be, and I have a feeling that we're going to take a look at our top qualifier who didn't have the week that he wanted last week, the number 10 of Colton Mitchell. So I would tell you where he was at on the gate, but I'm still loading.
Samesies.
So versus PC one to watch, former versus PC rider, before jumping over to, is he on Prime? Is he a Prime Design Graphics rider? Ever good? Is he ever good?
Which one is that?
Colton Mitchell.
Colton Mitchell is on Prime, I believe. Yeah, we have a parade lap going underway, and I believe that Kyle Robb and Jared Seidhoff and Dade Honeywell would not like to get that start that they just did right there.
I actually think I timed out. I'm going to disconnect, reconnect. I usually don't have load-in issues, but I didn't lower my graphics maybe.
Yep, this is indeed a warm-up lap. So taking us through the field just real quick to see who we got. We got JS4, Jeremy Smith with Jeremy Cohenauer, Michael Butendiek, Zoa Cross, Tyler Lewis, Ethan Howell, Sean Klein, Zach Prokop, Charlie Way, Jake Rose, Alex Carlo, Tiberino, David Wright, Dakota French, Jordan Moxie, Bryce Whelan, Ryan Mahan, Phil Bull, James Schuler, Chase DeSalle, Jake Warden, Chase Donovan, Jack Knight, William St. Laurent, Walter Gebhardt, Jack Zars, Josh Betts, Kyle Robb, Clay Alfrey, Dade Honeywell, Craig Leak, Austin Eklund, Lysander Bigwood, Cody Branson, and defending champion Jared Seidhoff. All right, Chris.
We're going to take a look at Jack Zars as the versus PC one to watch, just because he did not even qualify last week after I called him out as a guy that I thought could be in the top 10 in this championship. I want to see what he can bring. He's right now in the 22 spot or 23 spot running
taking
around.
A look on him.
Versus PC Fam MX Rider, Mr. Jack Zars. He will be our versus PC one to watch here in Moto number 1. So we'll keep an eye on the 718, the rookie. First time in the pro class here at a national, as he didn't qualify last week. So here we go, 250 Moto 1 going to the gate.
All right, and I must say, Jack Zars, a very nice setup this week. I finally do have that versus PC Fam MX setup. But let's see what happens here on the start. Since you said Kyle Robb is going to be a guy that could possibly win this race this week, we're going to take a look at him here right on the inside of the start gate. All right, folks, get your hearts revved up. It's time to go racing from Glen Helen in the 250 Nationals. Round 2 of Ride365.com Nationals is underway.
Looks like Brock Pierce with a great jump out of the gate. Seidhoff has a good jump, but out into the number 1 ride. It's Craig Leak going to lead him around into turn number 1. And a wild Ryan Mahan drop it into the 250 class. Didn't even ride round 1 after building it. And he's out into the number 1 spot early. Leak going to try to go around the outside on his ever good Honda.
That was gnarly from Mahan. It looked like he might have gotten a little bit of a swap coming through the first corner, but he held it on, and he does get that whole shot. And he's got Gebhardt giving him all kinds of pressure at the top of Mount St. Helens. And Gebhardt to the lead already on the downhill.
Dalty Walty had a great hangtown, and he's looking to back it up here at Glen Helen or maybe even improve it. Still riding the privateer number 73. I thought for sure someone would swoop him up after that great performance, both motos last weekend.
Indeed, but Gebhardt has made a couple of enemies along the way. Oh, his Seidhoff slides out in the background. He was in the 4 spot. He's going to lose a good chunk of positions here, maybe 10 spots in the process. Ends up right behind... it's Tiberino on the 77 machine.
Craig Leak working on Ryan Mahan as they bust out the gnarly uphill triple. Getting over it no problem on these 250s. Grabbing some gears going up to that thing, though, I am sure.
Yeah, Mahan
Leak was so good last year. Didn't really see much of him at Hangtown, but definitely has some talent outdoors. He did win some motos last year, right? Eventually got the win, I believe.
Oh.
And Jeremy Smith going to run into him. They're both going to go down, and that's going to allow Jake Rose, Brock Pearson, and Clay Alfrey all to go by.
A bunch of people by as Leak has his struggles out of 3rd place. He had just gotten hung up on a rut, and now Mahan and Gebhardt up front have some breathing room. I was just about to say that Mahan doesn't look like he's all too comfortable in this position. Obviously, he has been a front runner in the past, but I don't know if we've ever seen him really running up front on a 250 before. He's always had 450 speed for sure, though.
I mean, he's been a guy that can win races on a 450, but I don't really ever remember him even riding a 250, let alone running up front. So
absolutely.
Maybe the time of the event is the choice of the 250 here. Maybe he just really likes it on the track. Not really sure.
Well, it's paying off so far. He gets a whole shot, runs 2nd now behind Gebhardt, and has a gap to work with as the battle for 3rd is on.
A lot of pressure on Brock Pearson.
Yep, Smith looks like he made a small bobble coming down the start straight, but gains it really quickly back coming through this really quick section through the first corner complex. Up to the top of the hill, and he's down. He clips a SpongeBob. Ends up right next to the pole. He's going to lose 2, 3, 4 spots maybe.
You said SpongeBob. Somewhere Andrew Wood is taking his shirt off. Sure.
Yeah, A-Wood, not a fan of those, that's for sure. Smith falls behind his teammate, Dominic Tiberino, on that turn bar racing machine.
PBR boys giving chase to Mr. Jordan Moxie, running under his actual name this week after we saw him impersonating Mr. Jaden Carter last week. So he is back in racing on his correct name with his correct number. All is well in the world if you're Jordan Moxie.
And he's got a pretty fresh looking setup this week, and I'm getting more and more skins coming into that skins thread each week, so I have a lot more skins out there this week, and I like that setup as well. He's given chase
to is laying it down out front, 6-second gap already.
Wow.
Give some credit to him. He has definitely brought his A game into this 250 outdoor class. I would say it came out of nowhere. I mean, I haven't seen performances like this coming from Gebhardt. I mean, he's been a solid guy to, make points and make main events in Supercross, but lead races and run in this stacked class in the top 5 is very, very impressive. And man, if he keeps it up all summer long, he could be looking to be part of this title fight.
Right. Well, I mean, you're absolutely right about that. He has the national number 73, and that's pretty much only because he had a decent Supercross season last year where he actually won the East Rutherford 250 main event. And this year in Supercross, not a very good season for Gebhardt. Had some serious struggles, missed main events kind of on the regular basis. So to see him up front and railing is good to see him back to kind of old salty-walty form.
I want to jump back to that battle for 8th place right now. Josh Betts putting in a good performance on the Evergood machine, rocking his number 96. And our Versus PC one to watch is putting pressure on him, running up in the top 10. And as we said, no commentator's curse as Kyle Robb goes on by. Sorry, Mr. Jack Zarspy. I was going to say, after not qualifying last week, running top 10 early here, really regrouping, doing more of what I expected. But now he's got some serious work to do.
Well, what he just did is something that I expected to see a little bit of tonight. These guys really sending it into these sand rollers off of that single, but if you happen to come up short on one, it is a brutal case. And unfortunately, he fell off the bike there, ends up in a battle now with Lysander Bigwood and Russ Chapman, who is starting to charge his way through the field after a bad start. So keep an eye on our Versus PC one to watch, Jack Zars.
Pearson has dropped to the 3rd spot to Jared Seidhoff and now is under pressure from Moxie and trying to go back after Seidhoff, who's just like last week, kind of just working his way through, patiently getting it done.
I was going to say, Seidhoff has just been quietly solid, obviously won the opening round, but it wasn't like he was just the outright fastest guy on the track or dominated the motos. He just was, like you said, solid. Down.
So he's going to go up into the 2 spot now. And again, this is a lot of what we saw last week. Just really capitalizing on others' mistakes, running consistent fast laps, but not burners by any means. And the Seidhoff kept the red plate last week, looking good to actually extend his points lead here early in the season. In round number 2, Moto number 1. But he does have 8 seconds.
Wow. Almost commentator's curse again there. You're talking about Seidhoff. He slides out.
And with that mistake, Pearson's going to go to the 2 spot and give a 10-second, almost 11-second lead to Walter Gebhardt.
Yeah, these guys are giving Salty Walty a little bit more confidence there at the front to work with. Seeing that gap going up. Maybe not noticing or realizing that they're crashing behind him and just thinking that he's pulling away outright, which he is as well, but these guys crashing has obviously opened up the gap significantly.
Battle for 6th is on fire right now. Jake Rose and Jeremy Smith have been back and forth side by side. Jake Rose, ever good, number 70, all over TBR's. Jeremy Smith on the number 4.
Oh, Rose cases into the sand section just a little bit, but fortunately does not have a fall-off crash like we just saw Jack Zars have a lap ago. We've got some yellow flags down.
Yep. And Seidhoff runs into him and falls off the bike.
I was on board with Jake Roses. He gets into Moxie And they're both down again, so Moxie down in a very inopportune position there is going to lose some spots, and he gets up together with his countryman, Jake Rose.
I'm going to reset things. Gebhardt 10 seconds out front. Brock Pearson's in 2 spot. Man's back up onto the podium in 3rd with all that chaos. Jeremy Smith slides into the 4 spot. And then comes the duo of Prime Design riders, Sidehoff and Rob, running in 4 and 5.
All right, well, you had mentioned earlier, Rob looks like he came to play tonight, and he has a decent start to work with in this 6th spot right behind his teammate. And Rob has been very good at these opening rounds in the past of the Ride365.com Nationals.
And looks like they're going to go around Moxie, who was down.
And Mahan, actually.
Oh, that was Mahan, not Moxie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Moxie is right behind them, though, as well.
Yeah, Mahan, a little mistake at the bottom of Mount St. Helens there. Loses a couple spots. So now JS4 moves up into the 3 ride. He's going to try to run down Brock Pearson, who's kind of all alone at this point. But speaking of all alone, your race leader's still just kind of cruising up here. Walter Gebhardt. Someone give that man a ride. Privateering it up. Leading Nationals.
I tell you what, you could probably drink the ocean water with the lack of salt right now. Gebhardt's leading this thing. That could all change when he starts to get into lapped riders or if he makes a mistake. But right now, getting comfortable leading, and commentators, Curtis Gebhardt is off the bike now. He should be able to get up with the lead, but he's now going to have pressure from the 194 of Pearson.
Yeah, Pearson is just getting there. I heard Gebhardt going. Oh, Pearson almost lost the front end coming into the corner as well. And Smith now lurking in the background with Sidehoff not too far behind that either. So these guys, kind of guys we weren't expecting to run up front, maybe Brock Pearson and Walter Gebhardt run 1 and 2.
Now, does that get the case into the sand for Gebhardt as well?
Pearson did the same.
Does that get Gebhardt's heart racing and really make him nervous and force more mistakes? Which we have Jeremy Smith down in 3rd, so it's going to allow Sidehoff and Rob to slide by. But I was trying to make the point of, does Gebhardt get nervous, start making mistakes, and lose the lead, or does he pull back away and just boost his confidence and actually calm himself back down a little bit? We'll see what happens here. Gebhardt not in really a familiar position, hasn't led a lot of these things at the pro level, that's for sure.
Well, taking a look at Brock Pearson, he definitely looks like he's riding this track very comfortably, hitting everything really smooth, even though he's got the race leader right in front of him. It doesn't look like he's gone into any sort of panic situation.
He's running 2:23.7. Fastest lap of his race so far was last lap around. That's a quick lap because I looked back at Sidehoff's lap times, only a 2:27 fast lap. Rob logs in also a 2:23. He's running in 4th, and Gebhardt's fastest at 2:21. So he has a burner in the tank that he can lay down. And will he use that to get back away, or will Brock Pearson be able to eat him up? We'll see.
Looks like Gebhardt has definitely regrouped so far, and is at least responding to the pressure that Pearson was putting on, if not starting to stretch it out just a little bit. We'll have to take a look at the lap times next time by and see whether or not he did actually extend that gap just a bit, though. Well, actually, obviously, he would have crashed right after the finish line, so lap times might not matter, but now Pearson looks like he might be pulling it back in just a bit.
You can a lot of times tell how a rider's feeling by their style, and Pearson's throwing it super sideways off all the jumps, which tells me he is loose and just charging to the front and having fun being in this position.
Yeah, both of these guys kind of taking the same lines. Not a lot of variation going on, but that doesn't necessarily mean they won't change it up once they're in a real battle here.
Pearson's doing a lot of bike humping, which I'm sure is getting the power to the ground. He ran a 2:24 that time around. Of course, Gebhardt had that crash, so a 2:33 for him. But I think Pearson's got a little bit pace right now.
Wow.
Gebhardt.
Brock Pearson just railed that corner and railed that corner back to back. Just flying through this track.
He's getting sideways on these jumps. I mean, he wants to lead this thing for sure. And looks like he's not scared to just go for it as he launches into the sand sideways. Saves it. No.
He does.
Gonna lose a little bit of time, but not going to lose a ton of time.
That was a wild ride. On board now with Pearson, looking ahead at Gebhardt. Streak away just a bit in the distance. We got a 3-rider battle going on behind these guys, though. Take a look at Jake Rose going at it with Mahan and Smith through the sand rollers.
One of the more inexperienced guys, Jake Rose, on, I believe, his kind of sophomore season, really running up, battling in the pro class with a couple veterans, Smith and Mahan.
Yeah. Not only veterans, but really experienced 450 class riders who normally take it to the likes of Jesse Mullins and Tyson Fresquez, but are battling it out with Jake Rose. How about that save by Jake Rose, though? Had to check up and got swapped out. 90% of sim players are down in that situation, but able to wrangle that ever good machine underneath of him. But he does have the pressure from JS4 coming up behind now. Back down Mount St. Helens. Rose looks like he's still keeping Mahan honest, though. So not falling back to Smith so much as he is going after Mahan again.
Definitely trying to make a move back on the 37 machine. He's got to find a spot to make the move or force him into a mistake. These 250s running a lot of outside lines around the track, just keeping their momentum up everywhere.
Yeah, we saw that last week at Hangtown as well. And honestly, it wasn't so much that the prime line is out there even. I'm interested to see how these 450s tackle this track. Because you're right, it's all about momentum for these guys. They're trying to keep the speed up. Especially on these hills, these real steep hills. Of course, Mount St. Helens and the hill right before it after the start straight. Keeping the power to the ground, getting good drive is key.
The top three is starting to tighten up, actually, as Gebhardt's actually separated himself from Pearson a bit, but Seidhoff is on the prowl. Looking at lap times last time around, Gebhardt 2:23.5. Pearson dropped to a 2:26, but Seidhoff, fastest lap of his race so far, down to a 2:22.1. So a low 2:22. Seidhoff turning up the heat as we get close to that halfway point of the Moto.
And again,
points leader.
Just super solid for Seidhoff. It's not like he's just blowing these guys away. Obviously, you said he definitely picked up the pace, but it's not so much so
marginally
that
picked it up.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just it seems like he's a lot smarter about it this year. I remember last year he was blazing fast at some races, but would crash a lot. So it looks like he's kind of settled that down a little bit more. Obviously knows what it takes to win this championship now. Looking to win it back to back.
And as we hit that halfway point, let's go ahead and do a quick top 10 rundown.
Right on.
Brought to you by the fine folks at FamMX Design. Log on to fammx.com and check them out. They have graphics, is what they're known for, custom stickers, but they also can do like pit setups, canopies, all kinds of cool stuff. fammx.com bringing you a top 10 rundown as Salty Walty Gebhardt continuing to lead this thing out to 5.5 seconds now, so he's re-stretching it out after that fall a couple laps ago. So the privateer looking to pick up a Moto win here at Moto 1 at Glen Helen. In the 2 spot, we have a couple riders down. It's Seidhoff and Pearson, so they're going to give up some spots. So we'll see. They're going to see what happens as Kyle Robb's coming around right now. Pearson's going. Seidhoff's going.
Oh!
They get together again.
Was that Seidhoff putting Pearson down, or?
Yeah, sort of. Pearson kind of was trying to thread the needle around the outside quickly, getting back going a little faster. Didn't work out.
Interesting.
And so Kyle Robb, Prime Design Graphics number 23, is going to go up into the number 2 spot. Mahan back onto the podium again, up in the 3 spot, capitalizing on the mistakes of others. With some heavy pressure from Seidhoff. Maybe we want to stop this top 10 rundown for just a minute and watch this battle develop. Seidhoff putting the pressure on Mahan, who's right behind Kyle Robb.
Wonder if maybe Seidhoff got flustered. We obviously didn't see that crash, but it looked like Seidhoff didn't really give to you-know-whats about what was going on with Pearson there, as he just came up and kind of went across the track and hit him.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They were both in a hurry, obviously, to get back going, and Pearson tried to go around the outside of Seidhoff, who was pretty far out. So I'm not sure. I don't want to make a comment on it without really re-looking at it. So
it's tough.
I don't want to say the wrong thing, but
it
yeah,
might be the angle
came
I
together.
saw it. But now Seidhoff is going after Mahan.
Run.
Oh, Mahan down.
Jake Rose going to go on by. And that's going to allow us to keep our top 10 rundown going by. So Gebhardt, Robb, Seidhoff are your top 3. Then we find Jake Rose on the number 70 Ever Good Honda. Looking great. Great rod running right now for Jake Rose up here in the top 5. Mahan's back going in the number 5 spot. Then we find Rush Chapman for the first time on his DX3 number 13. A lot of guys, I would say, pin Chapman to be a championship contender here. Haven't really seen him get the start yet, so it's tough to say what he can do, but he's trying to climb himself up into a top 5 ride here as he runs in 6th. Pearson finally back going in the 7 spot. And we find William St. Laurent on the 62 Mad Cape machine going to go down Mount St. Helens. Giving chase. Nice 8th place ride going for him right now. I like that blue and white Yamaha setup. Looks pretty sick.
It does. He's
being chased by, shocker, another Prime Designs graphics rider. This one chased DeSalle.
And another one.
And then we find Colton Mitchell, our fast qualifier. Again, tail end of the top 10. Top qualifier at both rounds. He blows by St. Laurent down the hill.
DeSalle just did the same at the top of the hill. These Prime Designs bikes are hooking up down the hills. Are you kidding me? That was ridiculous.
Yeah, those guys are just fearless. So Mitchell, I'm guessing, trying to make the most of a bad start once again, using his speed to get it done. But he needs to start getting points because he keeps finishing well behind Seidhoff, who has to be considered a title rival.
Exactly.
Mitchell showing he has the speed to battle with his teammate, top qualifier, but he's got to get it done. So now back rounding out the top 10 is St. Laurent. We find Jeremy Smith in 11th as we'll go ahead and do a top 15 rundown quick here. Then Zach Prokop, another Prime Design graphics rider, battling out with Jordan Moxie on the Architect, number 57. And then we find Sean Klein on the Evergood ride, one of the rookies out there. And running out the top 15, another Prime Design graphics rider. I believe you said last year's winner at this race, Dade Honeywell.
Yeah, that's not where Honeywell
wants to be. I'm going to find our versus PC one to watch. And you got to go all the way back to the 27 spot to find Jack Zars struggling through the moto on the 718, but still putting it in and trying to maybe charge his way back up to at least score some points at this point.
Bummer for Zars for sure.
Also a huge bummer for Craig Leake, who we saw up front early on the Evergood number 11. He's all the way back in 35th place.
Up front, we have massive change. What happened? Kyle Robb now taking over the race lead from Seidhoff. Gebhardt back to 3rd.
Wow, so we went to do that FamMX.com top 10 rundown, and Salty Walty off screen goes from 1st to 3rd. Ran a 2:32 last time around, so I'm wondering if he had a mistake last lap and this lap, because he had a sizable lead. All kinds of shakeups. Jake Rose continues in 4th and Mahan 5th, so the big shakeup, Kyle Robb and Seidhoff making their way around Walter Gebhardt.
So just like you predicted, Chris, it's almost like you were looking into the magic ball tonight. Kyle Robb up front. Although you didn't put Seidhoff in that 3.
I didn't say anything about Seidhoff or Gebhardt or Jake Rose or Rush Chapman or Buck Pearson.
But you pulled Kyle Robb out of thin air and said, hey, this guy could win tonight. Look at this. Here he is leading 20 minutes, almost 21 minutes into the first moto.
Yeah, next time I'm just going to call out a Prime Design graphics rider to win because I think we saw 18 of them in the top 20.
Yeah, just about that much, huh? Kudos to them, though.
Solid program.
So it is Robb from Seidhoff and Gebhardt. Jake Rose is trying to sneak up into the battle with Gebhardt on the Evergood machine. Rush Chapman now into the top 5, trying to find a battle. All right, Colton Mitchell still on his teammate Chase DeSalle. These guys have been kind of training forward.
Yeah, Mitchell dropped to 221.7 last time around, so he's got some speed going, and they're running down Rush Chapman right now, who was in the 223s as his fast lap last time. We'll check lap times this time as Chapman's going to go over the finish line. Another 223 for him. What does DeSalle have? He logs in a 223.2 and a 223.1 for Mitchell, as he is all over DeSalle at the moment.
I almost wonder if this is a case of getting kind of stuck in the position you're in for Mitchell. No knock on DeSalle, but I would expect Mitchell to be able to put faster laps together. And these guys have just been together for quite a while now. Obviously, it's working because they're going forward. I'd be curious to know if Mitchell thinks he could go a little bit faster once he gets around DeSalle.
If he gets around him, though, too.
Yeah.
Because to make a move on someone going as fast as DeSalle's going, he's probably going to have to force the issue unless DeSalle makes a mistake. And
there
there's
is
a mistake,
and
they're both
it
on the
takes
ground,
Mayhem,
and Jeremy Smith's going to go Thanks, boys. I'll take 2 spots and go out onto the start straight. And then Pearson gets into the back of DeSalle, makes it a double fall off for him. Bad news for Chase DeSalle.
So that kind of resets everything that we just saw here.
The battle for the lead is still on. Less than a second separating those guys. They go around a down lapper at the bottom of Mount St. Helens. Start to work into, I believe it's called the saddle, right?
That is called the Valley. At least that's what I know it as, but
You
could
would
be
know better than
Saddleback
me,
Valley.
Mr. SoCal boy.
Battle for third is still raging too. Just to take off of that first to second battle for a moment. Rose looks like he's got the grit between his teeth here to go after Gebhardt. Ooh, big kick, but a nice save. That's the second really nice save we've seen out of Rose this moto.
Both of our leaders just tripled over the top of a lapped rider at the front. You can keep an eye on that battle. It's Kyle Robb's down, so side off to the lead. I was just going to say I'll let you know if anything develops up front, and you're going to see it right here. Well, Gebhardt's going to go around Rob as well.
Here comes
and here
Rose.
Comes Rose. Going to jump into the back of Rob.
Wow, that was really close. Rose very fortunate not to get into him. Try some different lines.
Rob had run a 220.4 last time around too. Him and Sideoff had dropped the hammer out front. Maybe a little too much pushing the issue for Kyle Robb. But guess who's back out front again? The number 1. Slowly but surely kind of, I'm going to start calling him the dang choo-choo train. Not Peter Like anymore because he's just chugging along each moto. Not rushing it.
Yeah, his battle for second, I think, is going to get really good really fast with Kyle Robb trying to recover from that crash.
Absolutely, and I thought Jake Rose was actually carrying a little better pace than Gebhardt. It seemed like he had closed in on him. So we'll see if he can also factor into this thing. 3 riders freight training very closely right now.
Yeah, no doubt that Rob getting up where he did has kind of broken Rose's momentum towards Gebhardt a little bit. See if Rob can close in on Gebhardt, perhaps make a battle out of this. We are almost 25 minutes in, so a little over 5 minutes plus 2 laps to go in this first 250 moto at Glen Helen. Good battling
Rob
here.
really not able to put a dent into Gebhardt right now. We'll see what he can do down this downhill, though, because we've seen these prime guys are just wicking it up down these downhills. I have to think part of that is suspension setup. They got something super dialed in here. The suspension wizard cooked him up something special.
No doubt they all share setups a little bit as well. Bounce ideas off of each other.
I'm sure they spend a decent bit of time riding together during the week, pushing the pace.
Go on board with the 23 of Kyle Robb for a moment.
I'm curious to see what their lap times are, as Gebhardt seems to have responded, maybe regrouped after a few mistakes and charging back forward. Rob carrying a lot of speed before that downhill triple.
Yeah, I was a little nervous for a second because I thought he had gotten the rut just slightly wrong. And maybe it slid out there. Having a little bit of Magic Man issues too. This is interesting from the onboard perspective. He's kind of just warping through stuff.
Yeah, he's floating and starting to lag completely out. That's not good news going on right now for Kyle Robb. We'll have to keep an eye on that and see what ends up happening with him.
He's really close to Gebhardt still, though.
Kind of coming back for now. Hopefully it was just a lag spike and he'll come back to earth and be okay.
Wow, look at him
going 5 in.
send it into the sand, and he gets it clean.
He made up some time to the back wheel of Gebhardt there. Now he's down and off the bike.
No.
Jake Rose going to go on by.
Just when it looked like he had figured it out, ends up going down.
I think Jake Rose has been studying side off a little bit, just trying to use that kind of choo-choo train approach.
Ah, the joys of living near a military base. Oh, Chapman's down.
I thought that was a NASCAR track outside your window. That allows Mitchell up into the top 5, so salvaging right now is Colton Mitchell, but Sideoff just looking to extend the points lead here right now.
Yeah, and Mitchell moving into the top 5 kind of makes Prime Design look even better as they are now 3 riders inside of the top 5. Obviously, they'd like to be 1, 2, 3. Right now, they are currently 1, 4, 5. Sidehoff, again, very solid motoed. Not necessarily just clicking off way faster lap times or anything crazy like that, but got a decent start, worked his way forward, let the other things kind of fall into place, and now leads this thing just 2 minutes plus 2 laps to go here.
Showing why he has that #1 plate on the side of his bike. Jake Rose looking to line up a podium finish. He's going to have to lay some laps down there because Kyle Robb might make a few mistakes, but he has speed and he's running in that 4 spot, not all that far behind Jake Rose. As Pearson, Chapman, and Mitchell not too far from each other either. 5, 6, and 7 spots.
Been a decent recovery for Brock Pearson since getting together earlier on with Jared Sidehoff. I thought that might hurt his morale a little bit and he might fade, but he's still running up here with the guys. Actually might make a pass here on Chapman. He's got some good lines working inside out. Had a great
bike
drive to the
humping
line.
a lot.
Yeah.
Is putting the power to the ground.
Got some dualies over the finish line.
Shots.
Hey, I've got it. I could do it. Man, look at Pearson. He's even scrubbing down that little double in the mid straightaway there by the palm trees. And wow, almighty, look at him rail the inside line.
Chapman going to close the door on him for now. We'll see what happens off the wall jump.
Look at Pearson.
Another scrub from Pearson's carrying way more speed. He's going to try the outside here, it looks like.
Different lines. Let's see what works. Chapman's got the inside line hooked, and Pearson slides out.
Cannot get hooked up. Just gliding. Couldn't get locked into that berm. Going to lose a ton of time. Went in side by side. Comes out almost 2 seconds behind.
Wow.
Shows how much momentum matters on these 250s. Pearson just couldn't get the traction to the ground.
Absolutely, and that was maybe the second worst spot on the track to lose momentum. The first being on the bottom of Mount St. Helens as he slid out in the sand. So momentum on a 250s means a lot. It means a lot more in the sand. Trying to get the traction down, but he's already got the bike moving again, doing some humping, going up the hill. And he's got Chapman in his sights still. We'll go on board with him for a minute and see him tackle this track. And by tackle, I mean literally tackle. He is throwing caution to the wind, just pounding this machine into the ground.
They will see the 2-lap board this time around. We have 2 to go at the finish line.
This battle
30 minutes has expired.
This battle for 6 is still raging. Look at Chapman has Pearson all over him as they work their way up into the uphill triple. Going back towards the REM track.
A lot of time scrubbing the jumps, and also he's really making time getting out of the corners where he can get humping the bike and really push the traction to the ground. A technique you don't see a lot of.
Yeah.
At least not in multiple places around the track. You might see it on the start as they're going to go around the outside.
Chapman had to get hung up a little bit there by a downed rider, and Pearson makes a nice move. Let's see if Chapman has anything for him. Man, Pearson's still just getting absolutely naughty on these jumps. Chapman not the one to just lay over as soon as someone passes him.
Pearson's got this inside line dialed in, though. He actually blows the end of it just a little bit. Chapman throwing big scrubs now.
Like I said, I think this is going to fire Chapman up to go after Pearson.
And they're both going to be on Colton Mitchell now, who's just getting up and going.
Oh, man, on board with number 13 DX3 machine of Rush Chapman. He's got 2 riders lined up right in front of him.
2 laps to settle this fight for the top 5. Pearson was looking inside on Mitchell. Now they're in a drag race, grab up into 5th gear, and Holder wicked through Talladega and up Mount St. Helens.
All sorts of different lines being used here. Pearson trying the far left side of the track, Chapman tucking in tight. Everybody funnels down to this inside at the bottom of the Mount St. Helens uphill. Oh, Pearson blew the rut going up the hill and got a terrible drive. Look at Chapman close right in. Wow, great onboard action here. Moto number 1 at Glen Helen. Gives you a really good sense of what these guys do to tackle these downhills so well. There's Chapman flying down the downhill, shifts down into real low gear. Oh, look at him send that single.
Made up some time doing it. It was definitely faster. He's going to look inside here.
Oh,
gets into
the
the back wheel.
Little too much, a little too soon. White flag should be in the air for your race leader next time by. Meanwhile, and it is.
Battle for third was on. Rob makes his way back around Jake Rose, actually, and puts him. They got together, not putting him down, but they got together. Rose fell over. Didn't fall off the bike, but has some huge separation. So Rose was actually up in second for a moment.
Yeah, Rob is going after Gebhardt still here on this last lap. It's not over between those two, as Seidhoff looks like he is all checked out front.
Rob ran a 2:20.6 last time around, so he was moving his way around Jake Rose on a heater. So the white flag's flying.
So can Rob remount a challenge here? Got around Rose. Can he get around Gebhardt? Gebhardt looks like he's doing fine, though.
Battle for ninth is on. Sean Klein and William St. Laurent going at it. Nose to tail as they're going to head to see that white flag. They're going to have one lap to settle this one at the tail end of the top 10.
Sean Klein looking at the moment like he's going to open the season with 3 10th place finishes in a row, but he'd really like to get St. Laurent here on this last lap. Man, oh man, this is some tight action. Whoa, look at Klein trying inside move and gets the pass too. Beautifully done by the 74 rider.
Last year's 250 amateur national champ St. Laurent going to come back, checks up to keep it clean. He could have tried to drive it really aggressively up the inside, chooses to wait and try to do it somewhere else here on the last lap.
Man, Rob still has Gebhardt in his sights. Rose has lost touch with those guys. Mitchell all fairly alone in 5th, has Pearson still closing in. Chapman, DeSalle, then that battle between Klein and St. Laurent still raging on, with Smith actually closing up into this realm just a little bit and has some time here on this last lap.
I have a feeling Rob's either going to crash or lay down his fastest lap of the race here on the last lap, as he is wicking it up, trying to do everything he can. Gebhardt cases the uphill triple a little bit, makes him another mistake, and Kyle Robb has him locked in. Coming to the line, though, to take the win.
Jared Seidhoff wins Moto number 1 at Glen Helen. Oh, Gebhardt is down in the 2 spot. That's going to make it a 1-2 finish for Prime Designs, although Rob makes a big mistake.
Jake Rose into the number 3 spot as well. So Rose going to land on the podium, it looks like.
Yeah, Rose will say thank you to that one. He'll take it and pick up his, I believe, first career podium finish. Moto 1 at Glen Helen. Gebhardt kicking himself, goes from 2nd to 4th on the last lap. Mitchell will survive any pressure from Pearson. Chapman is all alone, but let's look back at this battle. Klein has gotten around DeSalle, and Smith is on the back of DeSalle now. So Klein goes 1 spot better than he thought he might have finished. I think DeSalle may have had a fall off. Oh, and Smith is looking for a way around. Goes off the track. DeSalle is charging.
Yeah, the big shakeup there was St. Lawrence dropped all the way to 12th.
Oh, Smith lost the front end. 2 corners for the finish. DeSalle almost went down in the final corner. So Klein picks up 8th, DeSalle 9th, Smith 10th. Moxie will take home 11th. And as you mentioned, William St. Laurent, he drops back to the 12th spot and does not hold off Prokop as he goes
to injury.
down.
Tyler Lewis is also going to go by. Here comes Bryce Whelan.
Honeywell went through. By. Wow, St. Laurent went from possibly finishing 9th or 10th to 16th in basically 1 lap. Very unfortunate turn of events for sure.
Ryan Mahan going to come across here. Looks like he's going to lock down the 17th spot after being in a podium spot well past the halfway point.
Edward Mora behind him. Phil Bull coming to the line. Gonna take 19th, and your final point scoring position gonna go to the 96. Josh Betts, who claims how much he hates outdoors and could never score points doing that. He just proved himself wrong.
Really cool William St. Laurent, we thought would be really bummed. He actually just typed in chat that he thought it was pretty good for his first 250 race. So looking at the positive, Mr. St. Laurent.
Unless, of course, there is sarcasm in that tone. But yeah, definitely a good race no matter what. He was running up there and unfortunately just kind of came off the rails right there at the end.
Our versus PC, one to watch. Jack Zars all the way back in 27, so never really able to make headway to go back to the front after that. Good start and some crashes. Locked himself back in the pack.
Oh, man. All right, who have we got running this program tonight? Is it Heagney again?
Yeah, Heags is hosting her up, so we're going to have a little bit of a break.
Is a little bit going to be 5 minutes, or should I not go away for commercials?
I will ask him.
All right, hang tight for just a moment. Moto 1 in the books. Let's take a look through cuts here. See if anything really drastically changed. Honeywell lost a spot to Whelan on cuts. Smith got a spot on DeSalle on cuts.
5-minute break is the official word in the race server.
All right, well, we will be right back on the other side of this commercial break. You're watching the 2017 Ride365.com Nationals powered by versuspc.com. You see you just in a minute. RaceFactoryGaming.com would like to thank the following sponsors for their continued support. All right, and we are back. And ready to go here for Moto 2 at Glen Helen. And still looking at the results from the first Moto, left-hand corner of your screen in case you just missed it and are just joining the stream. Welcome back. Kellen Brauer, Chris Riesenberg in the booth here. SYS TV bringing you Ride365.com Nationals powered by Versus PC from Glen Helen. Well, before we get into Moto 2, Chris, would you like to bring us the Versus PC one to watch going into this second Moto?
I'm going to select our 6th place finisher in Moto number 1, the number 194 of Brock Pearson.
All right, so
he
Brock
will be our
Pearson.
VersusPC.com one to watch. Probably going to watch him throw some fat scrubs. Hopefully have another great top 10 Moto here.
I think he certainly will. Well, since Mahan was able to bust the whole shot in that first Moto, we're going to go ahead and take a look at him on the start once again. But here we go, 30 minutes plus 2 laps set to go. Moto number 2 from Glen Helen in the 250 class is set to go, and we are underway as the gate is down, and Mahan gets a little bit of a bump and is going backwards. So let's see who's going to actually come out with the whole shot.
Rose has a monster start.
Yeah, he does.
Walter Gebhardt coming up the inside, but it's going to be Jake Rose grabbing the Ride365.com. Oh, shit.
There was some contact about mid-pack that caused a pileup. Oh, no.
Get together. Cohenauer gets a bad end of that stick. Gebhardt off to another good start. He's got his starts dialed. Oh, Kyle Robb is down going up Mount St. Helens. Takes out Tiberino with him.
Oh, it takes out the 237 of Jake Warden as well, and a couple other riders having to take some evasive action. That is not the spot to get stuck on the first lap, I'll tell you what. How quickly things change for Cohenauer.
Finally, a good start from the number 10 at Colton Mitchell on the Prime Design Graphics number 10. What can he do with a good start? We finally might get to see as he's got Gebhardt and Rose in front of him. Jake Rose killing it at Glen Helen right now.
Yeah, he looks awful comfortable and put in a good ride last week. Third in Moto 1 tonight and trying to go to work as your race leader. Gebhardt already applying some pressure, though, as they work their way into the back section of the track, going up the big uphill triple.
Mitchell got to run
at one time.
Up the inside of Gebhardt. I don't think he's going to get there before the corner. He's going to thread the needle up the inside, put the pressure on.
So 3 riders already breaking away at the front of the field just a little bit, and Rose is feeling the pressure.
Lines.
Yeah, here comes Gebhardt taking some different lines and ends up side by side. He's got him. Coming to the finish line, Gebhardt will lead the opening lap, so for all of his efforts, leads almost the entire first lap. Jake Rose will not lead the opening lap here. It will be Walter Gebhardt once again at the front of the field, just like he was in Moto 1, but this time with a different host of guests behind him. He's got Jake Rose and Colton Mitchell, and a small mistake from Gebhardt allows all 3 riders to get really close.
Mitchell worked that inside, almost got around Rose. Rose shut the door. Gebhardt's mistake bundles them all up as they triples in. Mitchell lands on Rose. Somehow neither of them go down. They're drag racing down the sand rollers.
Very fortunate. It looks like Jake Rose just got a piece of Colton Mitchell's foot peg on the landing there.
Jeremy Smith and Russ Chapman trying to join up with that top 3 group. With those mistakes that happened, they were starting to break away, but started to bundle them right back up.
So Mitchell, like you said, a good start, now moves into the 2 spot. I think he could be really dangerous in this moto, especially with none of the real heavy hitters in this championship that we've seen yet. Right there, we got Chapman up front, but I mean, who else can we see that's up there trying to squeak through the pack and find your championship leader and defending champion?
Now, while you watch these front runners, I'm going to just give everyone a rundown on who is in the top 10 here at the start. It's Gebhardt, Mitchell, Rose, Smith, Chapman, Sean Klein, a good start. Jordan Moxie up front again. Zoa Cross, a good start. He had one of those at Hangtown, ended up not scoring points. His buddy and teammate, Chase Donovan, right behind him in 9th. And William St. Laurent, another top 10 ride going very early on here in Moto number 2.
All right, so up front, Gebhardt is starting to feel some pressure from Colton Mitchell already. Mitchell looks like he has got the grit between his teeth here. He is ready to go after Gebhardt and try to get away early on, as I took a sneak back through the field, and Seidhoff is well outside of the top 10.
He's in 18th right now.
Yes, he
is.
is.
As they run.
And here is Mitchell already taking a look at Gebhardt for the lead. Thought about it, but Gebhardt bouncing off the outside wall was a little bit too risky for Mitchell to slide down the inside just yet. And Gebhardt looks like maybe he just let him go right there. Not too sure if there's some sort of tactical approach to that, but Mitchell takes over the point. Going on to lap number 2 now, or lap number 3 rather, as lap 2 goes into the books. Mitchell up front.
Yeah, Mitchell looking to capitalize right now with his title combatant, the defending champ and red plate holder plus Moto #1 winner buried in the pack. Mitchell desperately needs to take advantage of this good start and log a Moto win against his teammate Seidhoff.
All right, so with Mitchell up front, we'll look back to this battle for third, which is starting to go crazy. We have got Jake Rose under attack from Jeremy Smith, Russ Chapman, and Sean Klein, who this time has a good start to work with, so we'll see what the rookie can do on that 74 Evergood ride. But Smith already going to work, gets around Jake Rose and into the 3 spot.
Yeah, don't let that low national number or the double-digit number fool you. Klein is a rookie. He ran a couple races at the end of last year after wrapping up the amateur title early. As down goes JS4.
Yeah, right over the top of the rut, coming back onto the start straight. Now Chapman trying to switch up lines, looks to the inside of Rose. And this is now your battle for third after Smith goes down. Chapman still sticking a wheel in there, but Rose holding tight. Down to the bottom of Mount St. Helens and back up. Rose gets the power down nicely. Oh, Mitchell's back here.
Back to fourth. Went down at the bottom of Mount St. Helens trying to get back going. Side by side, banging bars with Sean Klein. And down in the corner is Rose. He's going to hang up Chapman. All kinds of chaos going on right now.
And now
as
Klein.
Gebhardt capitalizing and just wheelie away to a big lead. Klein into the 2 spot. Mitchell outbreaks Chapman. Chapman blows the berm.
That was very aggressive for that was very aggressive for Mitchell to kind of shut the door very tightly on Chapman. They were going down the hill side by side all the way, but still gave him no room going into that outside line.
Moxie putting the pressure on Mitchell now.
So that just changed everything up real quickly. Gebhardt now leads from Klein, who just made a small mistake in the background. And behind that,
Gebhardt led so much of Moto #1 before dropping back, but looking to take advantage here and maybe lock that Moto win down.
Yeah, and even at the end, looked like he had second place, at least third place right there, but ended up fourth, so 4-1, looking possibly like he could go for the overall today, but would need some kind of bad rides out of Kyle Robb or Jared Seidhoff, which is happening so far, but we'll see how long it lasts. Seidhoff already up into the 13 spot. As this battle up front continues, Mitchell has Moxie right behind him and Russ Chapman, and they are trying to close it down on Sean Klein as Gebhardt continues to lead.
And if I am Mitchell, I'm not letting Chapman get anywhere near him to get some payback. He needs to lay the hammer down. Because I feel like the 13 and Chapman probably not too excited about getting pushed off the berm as he goes around the outside of Moxie, shuts the door aggressively.
Wow. Good pass. Thought Moxie would actually drive it in further, but he wisely checked up or else they might have both gone down.
Absolutely. We've seen a lot of guys battling down that roller section, and usually they give way. That time Chapman said, I am not giving way. I'm going to keep it on around the outside and shut the door, and makes the move up into the 4 spot to set out after Colton Mitchell.
Well, Moxie's still sticking a nose in there. He doesn't want to let Chapman go that easily. These guys are getting really close to that SpongeBob at the top of the hill. Mitchell is definitely reeling in Klein, and rather quickly. This is a position we've yet to see Klein really in as he runs in the 2 spot. How is this going to work out for the Rook? Mitchell charging from behind, already starting to, at least time-wise, apply some pressure. Not really right on his back wheel just yet.
I'm sure Klein's starting to hear him back there, though, as he draws a little closer.
Not too far out front yet is Gebhardt, so it's not a foregone conclusion that Gebhardt's going to start running away with this, as we saw Mitchell did reel him in and then pass him for the lead not but 2-3 laps ago, so Gebhardt not too far gone just yet, with Mitchell's really on the back of Klein, getting close here now. Could make the pass for second very soon. It's not over at the front.
Gebhardt had a mistake at the front of the field. Was actually off track for a second. Lost a good chunk of his lead. It was over 6 seconds. It's down to 4.
Chapman has made the move. Well, we saw that happen on Moxie, but he's still battling with Moxie. Good to see a little different color at the front. We've seen a lot of red up front, and we got a couple blue machines running, battling it out here.
In the mix, and
ooh, Chapman blows it, takes out a couple spectators through the crowd. Interesting line to get back on the track. Didn't lose much time in the process, but may have missed a timing gate. Let's sneak back and see if we can find our championship leader. Here is Mr. Seidhoff, currently running in the 12th spot, so he's made some good headway so far. We're almost a third of the way through this race.
Next rider in his sights will be the 91 of Zoa Cross. Having a much better ride here than he had in Moto number 1, at least early on. Actually battling right behind his teammate Donovan and Dade Honeywell.
There's actually a really good cluster that Seidhoff could get for position here very soon if he gets into a battle with these guys. Hopefully, for his sake, he doesn't go down. We'll see what kind of progress he can make.
It's a line of Hondas, a bunch of different teams. Evergoods, Jake Rose, Honeywell Prime Designs, the Versus PC Fam MX riders going in side by side down the hill, then a funnel in.
Yeah, can see that battle right in front of us. And Seidhoff.
Seidhoff on another Prime Design graphics rider. So, trio of Honda teams. It actually continues even further back.
Oh my goodness, what a kick. Someone crashing. Oh, and it takes Seidhoff.
Goes into him. So now, here comes Mora. Is he going to be able to miss the chaos? Another Evergood Honda rider. He's going to go around him.
That was a product of those long downhills. It just seemed like Cross started crashing at the top of the hill and just kept rolling all the way into Seidhoff's line. Very interesting to see that crash on board.
Battle for second is back on, under a second now for Mitchell on Klein, and they have dropped the lead down to 3 seconds for Gebhardt. Across the line, 222.1 for Gebhardt, 220.9 for Sean Klein, and a 220.6 for Mitchell. They're putting the heaters down right now in the 2 and 3 spots, shrinking that gap.
Oh, man, I cannot believe how quick that Mitchell is able to get through some of these corners. Klein doing a great job to hold him at bay, but I just don't see how much longer he can do it. Mitchell consistently just ripping down seconds.
4 into the sand. Klein goes a little long. Mitchell has a run. Not enough to make the move. He has to check up at the last second. Now he's going to try to get a run down the second set of rollers on him.
Klein got a great run too. He got very similar drives out of that corner, but Mitchell's going to try to switch up his line. Ends up following him. Doing a little humping down the straightaway, trying to get that power down.
Oh, mistake from Klein. Mitchell barely sneaks through. Now Moxie going to crest the hill. Is he going to be able to miss him? He
just
does.
Barely, yeah. Gets checked up. Is he going to hold the spot, though? Well, Klein looks like he's charging. He's going to go outside. Let's see what line works. Down the outside, Klein gets a good drive, but I think Moxie is just too good on that inside line there. Klein almost made it all the way back at the top of the hill, but too little too late as Moxie's already got the spot.
And just a little bit of a gap, just enough that he doesn't have to worry about Klein peeking a wheel in, at least at this point.
Right.
We'll see if Moxie can get away from him or if Klein's going to go back after him and charge back to the front.
So now it's Gebhardt and Mitchell, 1 and 2, and this is a very similar scenario we saw at the very beginning of this moto not too long ago. Mitchell able to run him down and take over the race lead before he eventually fell and dropped back into the 5 spot. Now has charged his way back to the front and is going after Gebhardt again. So let's see what he's made of here. Is he going to run him down and take the lead once more, or will Gebhardt respond to the pressure here?
Klein is definitely going back after Moxie for that 3rd spot. And down again, stays on the bike. He's got to get back going, but Rush Chapman going to go by.
As well as
Jeremy
JS4.
Smith.
Yeah. These guys all still locked in a battle at the front. Hurts anybody that goes down, but it helps, obviously, these people that are still close together, because when someone at the front goes down, they make up good chunks of time. Is real keen to stay on this battle for the lead, as Mitchell is really starting to close in on Gebhardt in the sand now.
Update on our Moto 1 winner and championship leader, Seidhoff. He is back in 12th and on the ground getting going. He's actually going to lose a couple more spots before he gets going, and actually has an unsafe tracker. Luckily, it involves him going down. Obviously not lucky to go down, but he didn't take the other rider, which could have been a protest and a bad situation. So Seidhoff all the way back to 16th place now.
Wow, and meanwhile up front, here comes Mitchell charging around the outside, launches down the hill, and has the inside line to his advantage. Does he get the corner? He does, but he blows the rut. Now the drive up the hill for Gebhardt on the left side of the track. Who's going to get to the corner first? Gebhardt trying to close the door. And he will, although he takes the middle.
Leaves him room.
And now side by side down the hill. Who's going to drive into the corner? Gebhardt is really pushing it, but Mitchell takes over the race lead. Great battling here at Glen Helen.
Gebhardt kept it really clean by giving up the inside a little bit to Mitchell, and we saw him kind of let him go by earlier when he caught him.
Yeah.
I think Gebhardt maybe realizes he doesn't have the pace of Mitchell, and he'd rather not crash with him and let him go and maybe make a mistake out front, give him the lead back, follow his lines, chase him, and try to finish on the podium himself versus hurting both of them with a potential crash.
Right, or even win this moto. I mean, we saw before Mitchell took the lead and then immediately coughed it up, so maybe Gebhardt's hoping that, you know, give Mitchell the space that he wants. If he wants to run that pace, so be it. Maybe he'll crash again and Gebhardt will be able to run up front once again. So we'll see how it plays out, but that was a fantastic battle there for a good couple corners. Mitchell, great outside line to take the lead. Gebhardt charges back up the hill. Then,
Check
like
out
you
P4
said,
right now. Rush Chapman under fire from Jeremy Smith and Sean Klein, all three in the air at the same time on that downhill triple. As we have passed the halfway point of the moto, we'll watch this battle before we drop into one of those top 10 rundowns.
Love to see the different lines.
Moving and shaking.
Yeah, different lines at play there. So Chapman, Smith, and Klein going to work here. Smith, the only rider not taking that middle rut that I've seen in that corner, and it looks like it lost him some time, as here comes the 74 of Sean Klein. Oh, it's close. These guys are right on top of each other. Could throw a blanket over at least Smith and Klein, but they're still right behind.
Oh, Smith off the
Chapman.
track.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and goes down,
partially down.
kind of.
All right, now while they separated for just a moment, let's make a quick top 10 rundown. Brought to you by Racetech Suspension and Engines. High performance for your ride. Colton Mitchell, Prime Design Graphics, leads the way by 3.5 seconds over Walter Gebhardt. Back in third, we find Jordan Moxie, Team Architect. Then we find Rush Chapman DX3 running in fourth with pressure from Sean Klein on the 74. Jeremy Smith, the veteran, on the number 4 TBR. Suzuki is going to go up Mount St. Helens in the 6th ride. Under pressure from our VersusPC.com. One to watch, Brock Pearson up to 7th after starting outside the top 15. He's put on a nice performance from behind with a fast lap of a 220.6, so showing some serious speed as well on the 194. Oh, we have a mix-up right behind them. Dade Honeywell is going to go up to the 8th spot. Zoa Cross still in the top 10 here past the halfway point on Versus PC Fan X91. Going to try to score his first points of the season. Actually quit the first moto. So much better Moto 2 going for him. And then finally comes Jake Rose, who was all the way up in the 8th spot, way back in 10th now as he fell at the bottom of Mount St. Helens. Looks like he had some troubles getting back going as well on the Ever Good machine. That's been your top 10 rundown, brought to you by Racetech Suspension and Engines.
Get your engines tuned.
Seidhoff is up to 12th, by the way, and trying to put the pressure on William St. Laurent.
Interesting to see that as solid as Seidhoff was in those opening 3 motos of the season, he's kind of been struggling to stay in that position. You know, you say up to 12th, but he's been in 12th for, 3 or 4 times this moto. So maybe a little bit of the pressure
part of
getting
it's
to
the
him.
depth of field, though, too.
That's
these
true.
guys are fast. One thing I've noticed is lapped riders have been way less of an issue because the field is all the way back really fast this year.
Right. Or is it just the
top talent?
The red plate's too heavy, man? So much weighing on his mind.
Definitely don't think that has anything to do with it from side off. He experienced it so much last year.
Yeah.
He's a veteran with it for sure, and I know you're being smart. Hey, double S.
Speaking of side off, he's trying to go after St. Laurent. We got him on the stream here, and just made a small bobble.
Our versus PC one to watch. Brock Pearson going after Jeremy Smith right now. He laid another 2:20 lap time down, trying to get up into the 6th spot around Smith. So Pearson definitely solid here at Glen Helen. Don't know much about him. Do you know where he's from or anything?
I believe he's from Australia, but obviously chat will probably correct me if I'm wrong. But that is my only analysis of him. I do remember seeing him in the past, but obviously as a 3-digit guy, we don't see him very often running quite well. So good to see it, though. Good to see some fresh faces running up front.
Yeah, Sidehoff has caught up to St. Laurent as well back there in the 11 and 12 spot. So see if he can do some work.
Whoa! Holy cannolis. Just taking a look at Brock Pearson, who actually just made the pass on Jeremy Smith, who blew the bottom of the downhill. Brock Pearson just absolutely lawn darted someone off the track. Couldn't tell if that was because the rider was invisible or if it was Pearson's lag bubble.
Kapow!
Yeah. Someone is not having a good day after that one. That was brutal.
Interesting. I was looking back in the field up the uphill, and St. Laurent actually rolled off the throttle going up Mount St. Helens to let Sidehoff by.
Interesting. Oh, this battle between Klein and Chapman is a good one. Chapman made a couple mistakes, ended up getting caught up. Now Klein is really putting the pressure on him here.
Klein looking more like a veteran than a rookie in this moto.
Indeed. Well, he went 10-10 at the opener, finished 8th in this first moto of the evening, and now just looks like he is a whole different person from what we saw at Hangtown. He looks way more aggressive and way more comfortable. Good to see, though. This is kind of what we expected out of the rookie, to get in there and battle with these kind of perennial championship contenders and make a name for himself this year, and that's exactly what he's doing right now.
We watch this battle. It's probably time to start thinking about a little bit of math on the overall, which is an absolute mess.
Oh my
I think
gosh.
Chapman might have it with a 4-2 at the moment, the way they run. I would have to think, or Gebhardt, not Chapman. I'm sorry, I'm losing my mind.
Yeah, Gebhardt 4-2. Well, we got Sidehoff on like a 112 right now.
How far did Mitchell get up to in the first moto? I guess I can look
Mitchell
and see
was
that.
5th in the opening moto, correct? So
I will double check that.
5-1 would be to
call the race.
4-2. So yeah, so 5-1 for Mitchell right now has him in the overall. By my calculations, as this battle continues, Chapman and Klein making a little contact just then.
Yes, Mitchell did get a 5th in the first moto, so he very well could be in the driver's seat. Well, he is in the driver's seat as they run right now for the overall, with Gebhardt going 4-2.
Just a notice in chat there is Heckman saying not technically a rookie. Actually, if you don't race a more than half the season at any point in time of your opening series, you're still classified as a rookie going into the next year. So while Klein does have the national number 74 and did race 3 nationals at the end of last year, he is still technically a rookie to this class.
And a big development, Kyle Robb, 2nd in the moto number 1, is out of the moto, has quit and left the server, so he will not be a factor in that overall. Sidehoff obviously buried in the field. Right now is not much of a factor either, as he is still sitting back in 11th. So Sidehoff's got some work to do here. We're at 23-minute mark already.
Yeah, it is getting later and later into the moto obviously less time for Sidehoff to really make any charges. And given the pace, like you said, the depth of field here, there's so many riders just riding so fast that there's not really much that Sidehoff can do. There's no longer big chunks of riders that he can get through like he had earlier in the race.
Absolutely, and it's really spread out. Jake Rose also on the podium, Moto number 1. He's running all the way back in the 10 spot. So Mitchell definitely in the driver's seat for this overall. Moxie's moved up to the 2 spot, so Gebhardt going to look with a 4-3, maybe in the running for a 2nd overall.
Well, speaking of Gebhardt, this battle between Chapman and Klein has been raging for a few laps now, and they have pushed each other up into Gebhardt just a little bit more. They are not too far behind the number 73 rider in 2nd place there.
And bringing Pearson, the versuspc.com one watch, along with them for the ride at this point.
Yeah.
This is developing into potentially a really good late moto battle.
Things are tightening up here at Glen Helen as Klein gets a little better drive than Chapman up the uphill and again closes in on the number 13 DX3 machine. But maybe now he senses Gebhardt's there. They're going to push each other forward instead of race each other. We'll see, though.
Certainly tightening up like my pants at a buffet.
So what has Klein got? Looking for his first top 5 finish of the year and perhaps his first podium finish of the year. And like you mentioned, with the overall so mixed up, who knows? He could really end up on the podium overall if he can get into 2nd. If he gets around Chapman and Gebhardt here, goes 8-2. Who knows? Certainly going to give it his best, though, as we can see all 3 riders pretty much in the same frame now. Chapman still right in front of Klein here.
Oh, Gebhardt's down.
Oh, and almost saved it. Ends up off the bike. So here we go. Chapman goes through.
Klein almost into the back of Chapman. Threading the needle.
Oh, I completely forgot. Moxie is now into the 2 spot. We forgot he slipped through. Or I forgot he slipped through at least.
Yep, Moxie 11th in Moto number 1, looking to get a deuce here in Moto 2. Imagine he'd be sitting pretty well in the point standings if he would have been on his own account at race number 1 at Hangtown. Klein working that inside. Chapman actually railed the outside good enough. I haven't seen that outside not lose time prior, but I think Chapman just executed it well enough to not lose time to Klein.
Been watching Chapman and Klein for so long, but that battle is still just going on. Just taking a look at your leader for a moment.
Oh, right behind them, actually, Gebhardt and Smith were side by side between the Millville roller sections as well. So Gebhardt all the way back to 7th at the moment.
Oh,
looks like the wheels have come off the 73.
Goes off the track again.
Those tires are weighed down with salt.
Sidehoff and Rose still battling it out. This is for the 10 spot, if I'm not mistaken now. So Sidehoff just trying to squeak into the top 10 here late in the moto.
Yeah, it's still that battle for 3rd is just raging right now.
Well, this battle for 10th is ridiculous. Jake Rose is pretty much inside of Jared Sidehoff's tailpipe.
Sidehoff 220 lap time last time around. Rose all the way in the 235. Rose, I thought he was going to go for that inside.
Oh, and Sidehoff goes down in the inside line.
Back to the battle for 3rd. Klein looking for any opening to find his way around Chapman.
Chapman's got to be like, are you kidding me? When is this guy going to go away? And there it goes.
There goes Pearson, who's faster than lap time-wise the last couple times around than both those guys. Pearson looking to climb his way, slides her down sideways over the scrub hill.
So just as Chapman thinks, oh, finally, have a little breathing room. Nope, here comes Pearson on the 194.
Klein didn't lose that much time. He's still right there in striking distance on Pearson as well.
So this is still a 3-rider battle here. I'm sure these guys are hoping they can work their way into Moxie's realm here a little bit. It seems like they're definitely closing.
Moxie dropped to 231 last lap, so definitely had a mistake that's allowed them to close. 223 for Chapman, 220.6 for Pearson.
Wow, Pearson is on rails right now on the 194.
They picked a good one to watch this race.
The Versus PC one to watch is ripping and he's still throwing some serious style, obviously demonstrating a immense level of comfort on this Glen Helen Raceway track here tonight.
Looked at the clock. We're at 28 minutes 40 seconds, so we're closing down this moto. Going to be getting that 2-lap card. I'm here in one more lap around, and then it'll be 3 to go.
Here comes Pearson looking for a line on the inside of Chapman. Still doesn't get there. Now he goes down to the inside. Does he get the drive? Oh, he's trying to show him a wheel, and really not too far up the road now. Just hear him going down the screen is Jordan Moxey.
I haven't really seen anyone work in that line that he just used onto the start straight. Everyone's kind of been going out and banking off that berm, so cool to see that.
Look at this. He's going to try maybe an outside line here. Yes, he is. Charges all the way down. Let's see. Wow, gets a great drive, too. Didn't lose a lot of time.
I think his bike humping up the hill is the only reason he's able to make that outside work.
Yeah.
No one else has been able to. Everyone's been losing time using it.
Oh, no.
There goes Sean Klein.
He almost saved that at the top of the hill, but Pearson.
Jeremy Smith's going to go by as well. Walter Gebhardt also going to go by. So
wow.
Pearson losing tons of positions.
Very unfortunate. But it's not over for second necessarily. Chapman
Klein
did get dragged up there, yeah, and Klein right behind Chapman as well. And Smith has just been kind of sneakily working his way into this battle the whole time.
Check out the battle for 8th. Honeywell's been under some serious pressure for a couple laps now from Cross. Honeywell actually a 2:45 lap time last time around. That was.
Oh, Cross.
I thought he had it saved. He's gonna lose. Is he going to lose his spot to Jake Rose as he has to get back going? Rose running in 10th coming down the downhill. Cross has to make sure he makes a safe track re-entry here. Going to get on at the exit of the turn. I thought he had that thing a 6 save, and then he just blows over the berm. Probably surprised himself that he saved that and then forgot to get on the brakes.
Just straightened it out, yeah.
It's still in 11th is Seidhoff, but he does have those guys within reach to make a couple of passes, but man, Seidhoff just not having a moto that he wants right here.
All right, so up front, couldn't quite tell whether or not Mitchell did make it back to the line or not. I assume he did not, so we have 2 laps to go now. I could be wrong there.
Mitchell, a 22-second lead now over Jordan Moxey. Chapman sees second, just a few rollers away from him, just pushing that bike with everything he has on the DX3 Yamaha, trying to get up there to Jordan Moxey to do battle for a second-place finish. Rose and has reeled in Cross now after Cross getting back going from that crash, is putting the pressure on, trying to climb up into the 9 spot. I'm looking, Seidhoff has a 2:20 fast lap, ran a 2:21 last time around, so it's not like he's not running good lap times, but all these 250 guys are in that 2:21 range as a fast lap or lower.
It's hard to believe that these 450 guys coming up here in just a moment were able to put down 2:13s on this track. It's going to be insane to watch. So don't touch that URL bar after this one.
Oh, Klein is all over Rush Chapman for 3rd now. Tell me where you've seen that before.
These guys have been locked together all moto long. Not too sure the friendship
Klein had gotten
level.
Into the back of him, and Jeremy Smith right there as well. Don't count him out of this battle for the 3rd podium spot.
All right, can Klein get his way up into a podium position here? Either way.
And the white flag is out for Colton Mitchell, by the way. So
all right.
Just update on that.
Yeah, 2-lap board did come out, so like you said, white flag is out. Either way, this is definitely an improvement moto for Klein compared to what he has ran so far this year. 10, 10, 8, and now running 4, going after 3. Giving Chapman everything he can handle. Look at Smith, though,
He's
really getting in. Oh, he tries to get down the inside, backs off, though. Oh, man.
Any mistake from these guys, and Jeremy Smith will capitalize.
I know.
Over the finish, the white flag. They're going to lay it all on the line. One more lap at Glen Helen.
Smith looked like he has some better lines working through that second half of the track for sure. And
whoa, Moxey has gone down to 5th.
Moxey behind these guys now. I just saw a flash of yellow in the background, and that kind of took me back for a second. So now this is the battle for second.
And Gebhardt's right there all the way back in 6th. 2nd through 6th, all could change here on this last
goodness. Lap. These guys
Klein
are
is doing
sending
everything he can.
Look into the inside. They're both down. That was very aggressive. Smith goes into second. Somehow Chapman stayed on the bike. There goes Moxie. There goes Gebhardt. Klein back to 6th. And Mahan a lap down right there.
Klein tries to get aggressive on the last lap, bites him in the butt, and he falls to 6th. But it's not over yet. He's still within striking distance all the way up to 2nd place.
Oh, your leader is down. Just flashed to Mitchell, who's down at
30-second lead.
Yeah, I think he's going to be good to go. So now Smith, is he going to be able to hold off a charging Russ Chapman, who's obviously not going to be too thrilled about that move that Sean Klein just pulled off? That was very aggressive, obviously last lap, but didn't really have a chance to make that inside line, I don't think.
Moxie probably upset after running 2nd for a long time. Dropped out to 5th. Now he's back up to 4th.
And Gebhardt's still right there. And now Klein getting back on it.
Big mistake from Chapman. It's going to allow Moxie all over his back tire.
Here we go. Battle for 3rd.
A little bit of breathing room for Smith. We didn't talk all that much about Smith, but yet he's up into the 2 spot, just being Mr. Consistent this whole moto.
Indeed. Here comes
another
Moxie.
Mistake from Chapman. Moxie not going to go. He is going to look inside.
Wow, tries a different line. Nobody's been taking those lines, and it hurts him as here comes
Gebhardt off the track.
Going through the crowd. Meanwhile, up front, Colton Mitchell coming to the line and will unofficially win the Glen Helen National by winning Moto number 2 here at Glen Helen in the 250 class. We'll see what pans out, but I think he's going to win the overall. Let's take a look at this battle for 3rd. Still raging. Moxie sends it, and he's down as he goes flying off the track. Gebhardt slides through. There goes Klein. Oh, and Klein's down.
So Moxie going to get another pickup position as he gets going. No, Klein's going to get going before him.
Smith, Chapman, Gebhardt. Now Klein gets up in front of Oh, Gebhardt's down before the finish. Gets on very terribly. So Klein will get 4th.
Down before the finish.
Moxie
in the bales.
is in the bales, so Gebhardt gets 5th. Moxie is still not going. He is stuck in the bales, but he should get over the line and finish in the 6th spot. Brock Pearson just misses out, comes across 7th. Dade Honeywell somehow got anywhere in the ballpark of these guys. No idea how, but he finishes 8th. And Seidhoff looks like he's going to finish his charge in 9th, but it will not be good enough for the overall 1-9.
I went back to Zoa Cross. He actually did a front flip over the huge triple. But he's got Jake Rose not that far behind him to try to take that last spot in the top 10. Rose was charging, and he's now going to go down. That might open the door for Whelan to get up and past him. It's going to be close. Got to turn around and get going. And Whelan goes down, so Mora's going to go by him. And Michael, you can have that last.
Oh,
nope.
Michael Boydendieck.
Right,
good to see Boydendieck get some points here. He's right out of the Netherlands, I believe, and staying up nice and late. Did not score points in the first moto, but it looks like he's going to bring home the Architect machine in the 14th spot here.
St. Laurent 15th. Chase Donovan going to score his first points of the year in the 16. But here comes Phil Bull, one of the Volcom boys, coming in 17th.
Carlo throws in some stees.
Only one guy in the top 20 got lapped. That's unheard of in RF events back in the day. Like, and they'd lap inside the top 10 a lot of times.
No kidding.
Carlo going to come across here in 18th, and Chase DeSalle going to be the last rider on the lead lap. Not the moto that he wanted aboard the 34, but he'll grab 2 points for his efforts.
Absolutely not. All right, DeSalle over the line. Cut's not officially in yet, but unofficially it looks like it will be Colton Mitchell going 5-1 to win the 250 Glen Helen National here at the Ride365.com Nationals, powered by Versus PC. Thanks for watching our 250 broadcast. Please don't touch that URL bar. We will be right back on the other side of this quick break for some 450 action. All right, guys.
Pearson
we'll see you
grabs
then.
the spot on Moxie on cuts, by the way, before you go.
Pearson got the spot on Moxie, but we'll be right back. Don't touch that URL bar. Coming back for some more Nationals.